North Dakota State Extension economist Frayne Olson is our marketing analyst this week. The USDA's June crop report painted a grim picture for the U.S. winter wheat crop. The agency is forecasting production will be down 10% from last year. The output from Kansas, the country's #1 grower, is projected 24% lower than 2013. Nearly two-thirds of that crop is now rated as poor to very poor. But one of the biggest drops is expected in Oklahoma, where the agency expects farmers will produce nearly 44% less than last year on an average yield of 18 bushels per acre. On the other hand, the biggest increase from 2013 to 2014 is estimated in North Dakota. The USDA believes that state will raise its winter wheat harvest by 275%. Frayne joined us Thursday morning, and we started by looking at the progress of the U.S. winter wheat harvest.
Well, obviously we started in Texas, Oklahoma. The last report we got on crop progress was that the Texas crop was about 40% harvested, the Oklahoma crop about 50% harvested, not quite 50%. Crop quality is coming out pretty good, which again, a little bit higher proteins than we expected. Test weights are holding up reasonably well. The higher protein content, of course, is primarily because of some drought stress. Kind of the issue we're facing right now is with the storms that have been coming through the southern plains the last several weeks. Is there going to be some additional crop quality issues we need to worry about? Falling numbers is usually the first thing that shows up as a problem. Possibly later on some sprout damage. The market will be watching for that, but the expectation is, the yields are not as good as last year, obviously. Field reports are coming in about what we expected from a yield standpoint. Again, not good, but we're within the range of what the expectations were.
Yeah, it was a tough growing season for states like Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Overall, winter wheat production is down 10%. How have those two things affected prices?
Well, locally, of course, everybody's looking at what's happening locally, and it's really easy to get stuck in that what's happening in my backyard is what's happening in the rest of the world, and that's not the case, especially in the wheat market. So if you look globally what's going on right now, the U.S. is one of the areas that is having some production problems. The rest of the world currently in their wheat production cycle is in really good shape. You look at the European Union, and that's a very big wheat producing region. They're having a good crop. Their expectations are for higher yields. USDA did adjust those numbers in the last WASDE report. You look at the Black Sea region, Russia, the winter wheat crop in Russia is looking in pretty good shape right now. Ukraine is in pretty good shape. So really, worldwide, the U.S. is the one that's having the problem, and as a result, a big corn crop, or at least the expectation of a big corn crop, is putting some pressure on feed usage for wheat domestically. And you look internationally, and it looks like we have some headwinds in the international markets with a lot of competition. So the futures market's starting to take some money out. They have for the last several weeks. And I know coming into harvest, there tends to be a little bit of harvest pressure, although most farmers are bidding a lot of their wheat for right now and waiting to see what happens in the future.
I just want to make one quick note on North Dakota. That state has the biggest increase in winter wheat production, expected winter wheat production. Why is that, Frayne?
Well, last year we had a lot of prevent plant. We had a very, very wet spring. There was a lot of acres in the state that didn't get seeded. Coming into fall, a lot of that did dry up. One of the requirements for prevent plant is that you have a cover crop or some kind of cover planted. Farmers in this region have learned the hard way that it really pays to have some kind of crop growing on that land to be able to use up some of the moisture. Winter wheat makes a really good alternative. You plant it in the fall, you come back the next year, and you can get the land back into shape and be prepared for the following year. So we tend to see some pretty wide swings in the winter wheat acreage in North Dakota. It's not a big acreage crop for us, but we do have significant acres, and it swings quite a bit depending upon what the previous year's moisture outlook was like.
Has weather been conducive for spring wheat planting and growth in states including North Dakota?
Well, we've been struggling a little bit to get the crop in. It's been, as a joke, or a friend of mine said, it's been steady in spurts. There's been we get a week or so of very good progress, and then all of a sudden it would rain again, and so our crop planting progress is very spread out this year. There are areas that are going to have some prevented plant again, not as much as last year, but we are going to have some prevent plant. For the crop that is up and growing, the conditions look really good. We have some light disease pressure starting to show up, but that's typical this time of year, and farmers are doing the best they can to try and get out and spray and control that. As we look north of the border, similar conditions. Most of the Canadian crop is in right now. There is a pocket in eastern Saskatchewan, western Manitoba that's had some problems similar to what we had in North Dakota, but in most of the growing region in Canada, they've made very good planting progress, pretty much finished up with everything. Crop condition looks good.
June 30th, two big reports from the USDA, the first on quarterly grain stocks and the second on planted acres. What numbers will you be looking at there, Frayne?
Well, there's a couple of things we're going to be focusing in on. On the planted acreage, of course, we're still trying to figure out how many acres of corn and soybeans are going to be planted and what that relationship will be. And so that'll be the first issue. And I think the soybean number will get the most attention. We know that they're going to be up from last year, it's just a matter of how much larger. The second would be, on the quarterly stock side, is how quickly are we using up old crop soybeans. And the old crop soybean balance sheet is getting very, very, very tight. Big concern about how many bushels are left within the system and how many do we have to work with moving forward.